Duff's a good guy.
This is Kennedy, and apparently Dennis Miller is on to talk about how Kathy Griffin wants to host the White House Correspondents Dinner.
Have a hard time convincing Kathy Griffin the president is good for a comedian's career. Kathy is refusing to quit while she's behind and has offered to host the White House Correspondents Dinner if the president attends this year's event. Organizers have yet to respond because they're hoping to book someone more likable, like Kim Jong-un. Joining me now to discuss the president's effect on comedy, a man who would make a perfect host for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, comedian and legend, Dennis Miller. You're back. I'm so glad you've returned.
Thanks for having me, Kennedy. I don't know if you've ever done that press corps dinner, but that is an uptight crowd. A lot of sticks up, a lot of tookuses there.
Did you do it, Dennis?
That's absolutely right, especially in terms of the president. So if they hired someone like Kathy Griffin to be the MC, she would obviously go after the president. It might be entertaining and satisfying for leftist mainstream journalists, but would the president attend?
I think that's one thing about Trump. I think he's, I don't know, appropriate he ran in the GOP because an elephant never forgets. And I think he knows she's scrambling right now, and I don't think he's going to be her Stargate back into, back into the cool kid group. I think what happened with Kathy Griffin is she made a bad tactical error. Yeah. I hung out with her one day at the Aspen Comedy Festival. She's cool. She's got great chops. She made a bad tactical error there because, they held up too many heads on YouTube. So to hold the head up was just bad commerce, and she's scrambling now. And of course she'd want to get back in there. I think that would help her, but I'm not sure Trump's willing to help her.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And it reminds me of Rosie O'Donnell dressing up to play Steve Bannon for SNL, and SNL did not ask her to play that character, oddly enough. So there's obviously anti-Trump mood in comedy right now. Is there any way to salvage that dinner, to make it entertaining, to put the president in the kind of light that I think is befitting a president? So the president's allowed to be self-deprecating and also allowing a comic to do
what it feels like something went wrong with this interview, and Kennedy's like vamping for she was bummed that he didn't make a joke about and it's like, we got to scramble. Can you hear me? Like somebody's in her ear going like, we got to make this work.
Something awesome is happening here.
Oh,
Dennis Miller's depression is returning.
Okay, good.
This is a great segment. I'm very excited about it.
This is what you want. He's in his wheelhouse now.
Now we're back. Now we're getting back home.
And also allowing a comic to do what they do best. If not you, who?
Well, I wouldn't do it again. I did it once with Bush 41, and I just remember it being uptight. I got out alive, but I just remember the whole crowd, not Bush, not his wife, they're pretty cool, but the whole crowd is like clutching pearls, like it's like the day Murph the Surf, the jewel thief, checked into the Fontainebleau. Everybody was checking their pearls in the lobby. Very uptight crowd, so I wouldn't do it. But I would think that Kathy's not going to end up doing it. If I was Kathy, I would remember that at some point, it seems like Roseanne has had this light bulb go off.
Yes.
The hoi polloi are the people who pay for tickets. The other people, the people she pleased with the beheading shot, are people who always want comps. You got to play to the people who are willing to put cash on the barrelhead. And I think that's where Rosie's at right now. By the way, she looks great. Does she not look beautiful in all this press she's doing?
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a really smart move on her part because it's very authentic that her character would be a Trump supporter. And that's what she's doing. She's honoring the character. And I think the most shocking thing you can do in comedy right now.
Her character would have been a Trump supporter?
So, it speaks to her ultimate aim. And also, I think it's really funny how much she hates Hillary.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Rosie started out, if you remember, when was she first on your radar? When she said that she was a domestic goddess. And I think if you go back to the last election and see who Trump did well with on the female side,
this could be the worst.
This is worse than a State of the Union.
Ever.
Wow.
Was Kennedy this
brutal
when
Kathy
she
Griffin.
was?
She's kind of good. But she hurt her commerce. You don't want to hurt your commerce, babe. She's getting into her. You mean what she gets? That's not even a word that you would use. She's a working comedian. She doesn't do commerce.
He's like a lackluster drunk at a
She
bar.
really heard her merchandise.
Yeah, sure. Her, she used to have joint merchandise production deals, which she undermined in the cross-segment demo. But yeah, I did that gig 30 years ago. It was kind of boring.
It's worse than the boilerplate language in the SAG-AFTRA contract when it comes to ancillary rights.
I gotta say,
was Kennedy this
Dennis
brutal
Miller?
When she was introducing like Green Day videos, whatever the hell.
No, she's worse. She's so
boring.
terrible. I've bantered with her on Twitter. She's a horrible human.
I like how they just complained in the last segment about social justice warriors on campus who are like, oh, don't wear racist Halloween costumes, but they can't handle a little effigy decapitation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't
Triggered
be
much?
It doesn't be fit.
Also, I really do appreciate Dennis Miller giving other comedians tactical career advice.
Yeah.
You got to stay current.
This guy,
you know what their problem is? Your references are out of date. You got to stay current with the references, like the A-Team.
You gotta attach yourself to a shooting star, a guy who's ascending like Billy O'Reilly.
Billy O'Reilly.
This might have been the right call back in like 2000 or whenever he actually did it.
Right.
Those were the days. It was 2003.
Oh man, I think it's something like I used to like to watch really bad comedy because it would make me laugh. Made me laugh because it was so bad. But now I can't watch bad comedy anymore. But I can watch. I could watch this. I really could watch this forever because it's just so intense and it's just so far. If people knew what he was like in the '90s, I mean, I don't know if I could ever watch it again. But it's like a different human. Well, not a different human. I guess he was always a horrible man.
But
it does have a certain pathos to it.
It is interesting how he insists on going onto these shows, but also then be a, like a buzzkill.
I actually was wondering. I remember when we played that truly horrifying clip of Dennis Miller saying that if his tax dollars were going to go to sort of like minimal social investment, that he wanted to have like personal meetings with somebody getting unemployment.
Oh, right. Yes, I do remember
and we've talked for ages about how sociopathic and bizarre and creepy and just weird that was. But the more I watch him, my empathy sort of grows, and I feel like he wants to have the personal oversight of his tax dollars so he can have a friend. He needs to socialize.
I'm spending tax dollars on you. Hang out with me while I have a notch.
Come on, I'm giving you my tax dollars. Let's have a ring ding bar together, and you can tell me about your job interviews or something. I don't know.
Come on, I just want to get. I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah,
it's sort of like. I mean, it's sort of like Todd Berry a little bit. There's Todd always gets you to go out to eat with him. That was back in the day.
And it's a series of complaints. But the other thing is, Dennis Miller, he's not a bright person. I'm sorry to say it. I don't usually like saying that, although that was popular in my family. But he's covering up not a particularly perceptive mind with tons and tons of references. Because in the old days, Kevin Rooney would write for him. He had David Feldman. He had people who knew what they were talking about writing for him. Right. He doesn't know a thing.
No. He doesn't, and I think he's basically said, like, I don't have to anymore.
It's like Caligula. Yeah, that was like Saddam Hussein. Anyways, Bush needs to bomb everyone. I will take my Leno appearance now. That was the heyday.
Good luck with your truffles, France.
It's so terrible. But you know what? This is the whole thing that's weird. I remember arguing with right-wing people when I was a kid, and this is like off the chart. They have no argument now. They're just completely. It's like we're evil, and we just have to come up with a cover story of why we're evil. It's never been so disconnected from reality. And I remember the Gulf of Tonkin resolution.